America must be fully equipped to defend our vital interests. Our adversaries are training forces and developing technology to undermine our security in space, and they're working very hard at that. That's why my administration has recognized space as a warfighting domain and made the creation of the Space Force a national security priority. I think we'll have great support from Congress because they do support something when we're talking about such importance. And a lot of the generals, a lot of the people involved have been speaking to Congress, and we have some very interesting dialogue going on. We're investing in new space capabilities to project military power and safeguard our nation's interests, especially when it comes to safety and defense. This directive calls on the Secretary of Defense to develop a legislative proposal that will establish the structure and authority of the Space Force as the sixth branch of the United States Armed Forces. That would mean the highest ranking person there would go on to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So it's a very, very important deal in the form of space and taking place in space. So we have a lot of things on the books. We have a lot of new defensive weapons and offensive weapons designed specifically for this, and now we're going to start taking advantage of. This is something they could have done sooner, but they decided to wait, and here I am, and we're going to do it, and I'm very proud that during my administration we're doing so much in space. We need it. We've already taken historic action to create the United States Space Command, as you know, within the Department of Defense to oversee the nation's military space operations. With today's actions, we will ensure that our people are secure, our interests are protected, and our power continues to be unmatched. There will be nobody that can come close to matching us. It won't be close. What we have on the books are things that you wouldn't even believe. You wouldn't even believe. It's going to mean the safety of our nation for many, many decades and many, many generations, and that's what I'm here for. I guess when you get right down to it, more importantly than anything else, that's why I'm here.
But from very early on, the President also said that America needed to be as dominant in space as we are on the Earth. And now with this fourth space policy directive, America is leading in space once again. But in this respect, the President is calling on the Department of Defense to fashion what we have literally been working on for months, consulting with members of Congress and military experts. It will be a legislative proposal that will establish the United States Space Force as the sixth branch of our armed forces. It will build on the President's leadership of a United States Space Command, a joint combatant command that we've already organized at the President's direction. But this is now the foundation of ensuring that even as we are dominant in space today, now we'll begin to bring all of our resources together under a U.S. Space Command, which will operate under the Department of the Air Force, and in so doing, we'll ensure that we bring the best resources and the best minds together to protect the American people and advance our interests. And Mr. President, all the members of the National Space Council and the agencies that are a part of it are gathered behind you today, and we thank you for your leadership and your support in this effort.
Some great talent, I will say that. Would you like to say something? You've helped us so much, so please, Paul.
Sir, you've been incredibly supportive in bringing space to the fore as not only a domain of potential warfare, but also recognizing it as a place where a large amount of our economic power comes from. And so our job to protect our national security includes protecting our economy as well. And so as your Vice Chairman, the Joint Chiefs endorse all this effort to make sure that we get the right emphasis on defending our interests and our assets in space.
Thank you very much, Paul. Patrick, how about you?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Secretary.
This is a historic moment, the dawn of a new service. I'd like to thank you for your leadership and, most importantly, the resources so that we can do our job. Mr. Vice President, thank you for pushing us. We've come quite a distance in a very short period of time, and then to my counterparts here, thank you for all the remarkable teamwork. We will deliver capability better, sooner, faster, so we can sustain our margin of dominance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe John Bolton, you've been very much involved, and I know how you feel about it.
Well, this is a visionary project, Mr. President. Your leadership, the Vice President, really everybody on the Space Council. This is not something for the next year or two or even the next 6 years. This is on into this century, a place where, as President Kennedy once said, I believe space is a new ocean and the United States must sail upon it. And you're taking the steps to make sure that from the national security perspective, the United States will be dominant on that new ocean.
And we will be. Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything to say? Would anybody like to say? Fine? No? Good. We're all up, right? We've said enough. Let's sign. Let's sign. It's very exciting. So how about we give this one to Paul? Mike, you want to do this? Okay, come on, Paul. That's a big deal. Thank you. It's very important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.